Hello, and welcome to another Gramps tutorial. In this video, we're going to look at generating reports, specifically Ahnentafel reports. We're going to look at what Ahnentafel numbering is, why you should use it, and how to generate this report in Gramps. So an Ahnentafel numbering is a system genealogists use for giving their ancestors a number in their family tree, and help you to learn more about how your ancestors are related to you. There are several reasons why you should use this type of report. First, it's very efficient to keep track of your ancestors. With the Ahnentafel numbering, you can easily identify each ancestor by their number, which can save you a lot of time when you're researching your family tree. Secondly, Ahnentafel numbering can be used to generate a great report that can help you learn more about your family history. For example, you can use Ahnentafel numbering to generate a list of ancestors, a family tree, or a chart showing your relationship to other people. So how do we use Ahnentafel numbering? Well, we need to follow these steps. Number one, we give ourself or the person of interest the number 1. We then find their father and mother, and we give them the numbers 2 and 3 respectively. We then look at the paternal grandfather and give him the number 4, and your paternal grandmother is number 5. Your maternal grandfather is number 6, and your maternal grandmother is number 7. You'll continue assigning numbers in this way, working back in time. Eventually, what you can do then is see how you were related to these people simply by using the numbering system. So for example, any person that you want to find their parent, you will double their number, and that will be their father. If you double their number and add 1, it will be their mother. And we'll see how this is done once we generate a report. Now, using Gramps, we can create this report for us without worrying about working out the numbers ourselves. So let's pull up Gramps and see how this is actually done. The first step is that we will navigate to the People tab, because we want the person of question to be our active person. So I have added one additional person to my family tree that was not here before, and this is George Hoffman Jr. He's the son of George and Katie Hoffman. So if I want him to be generation number 1 in my report, I will select him and make sure he is my active person. The way that I can see he's active is down at the bottom left. You can see his name displayed. His name is also highlighted here in the People window. Alright, then we are going to click on Reports in the top menu bar. We'll drag our mouse down to Text Reports, and we're going to click on Ahnentafel Report. Now, if you selected the wrong person, or you forgot to select a person, you can always choose that person in this menu. It's just a little harder to do. So here you can see center person, and it lists the person that I've selected. If I want to change this, I can click this icon right here, and it's going to give me a list. Now, currently the only person I can choose is my active person. However, if I want to see the rest of my family tree because I chose the wrong person, I simply click the check that says show all, and this will give us a list of every person in my family tree. Okay, now I did mean to select him, so I'll just go back and select him again and say OK. And now we're given a series of options here that's going to guide how our report is created. So the first window you should see says Report Options. So we picked our center person. The next option we have is how many generations we want to see. So this is going to output at most 10, because 10 is the default number here. We can change this with the plus and minus button. We can also key in a number if we'd like to on our keyboard. Just be aware, if you don't have that many generations actually plotted in your Gramps database, it's not actually going to generate 10 generations. It'll stop at wherever your data ends. The next option is Gramps ID. By default, it says do not include. This will simply list the unique ID that each person has assigned to them in Gramps if you so wish to see that on your reports. I'm going to leave mine at do not include. Next, we have two options here, page break between generations and line break after each name. So when we create our report, it's going to spit out just a long list of names and their vital information. If we would like each generation to start on a brand new page, regardless of where the last generation ended, we click the checkbox next to the page break between generations. But I'm going to leave it blank because I don't want to separate my generations on the page because I really don't have many to start with. The next one is add a line break after each name. So when you generate your report, you'll see that it says a number, then the name, and then it starts listing off some of their vital information. But if you want to break after their name so that their vital information appears under their name, you put a check in this box. Now we're going to skip the document options for a minute here because that's not really part of the report options. So if we go to report options page 2, we get a few more options. Here is name format, and this is simply just asking how do you want to report their name on your document. So you can play around with these and see what you like the most. The default one is going to be whatever you have set as the default naming system in Gramps, which is a setting somewhere that you would adjust. Otherwise, they give you various options here. You can have surname and then given suffix, given surname and then the suffix, given or main surnames, given, patronymic, suffix, and prefix. So I'm just going to leave it at what it was, which is surname and then given suffix. The next box here is include data marked private. So if you've ever marked any data as private, you can choose to exclude it in certain places when you're creating reports. Now we haven't looked at that in any videos, but we might look at it in a future video. For now, I'm going to leave it checked because it really doesn't matter to me. I don't have anything marked private, so it's not going to make a difference. The next box here is living people, so you can choose whether or not to include living people. You can also choose what to include about living people. So if we click on the box here, we get a series of options. We can either remove them completely. We would choose not included. We can replace their complete names and remove their data. We can replace their given names and remove their data. We can list their full name but remove their data, or we can include their name and all their data. For me, it doesn't matter because I don't have any living people on this tree, but you do whatever works for you. Now, if we choose someone, for example, perhaps we choose not included. Okay, so then the next option down here is going to become available, which says years from death to consider living. So, for example, if you would like to restrict the printing of recently deceased people from your report, you can actually specify how many years by using the plus and minus or by keying it in your keyboard. You can specify how many years since they've died to exclude them from your report. But obviously for me, these people have been gone for quite a while, and I actually don't even have the information put into my tree yet. So in that case, it's not going to make a difference. I'm just going to leave it at the default setting here. Now, translation is going to either give you the default, or it will list all of the translations you have available to you. This is something that you would have selected when you installed Gramps and installed alternate translations. So I can either choose the default or English or USA English. Since I am in USA, I'll go ahead and say USA English, but I would assume that my default language was already USA English. Date format. So this is just what type of format you would like the date to be on here for listing their birth and death dates, that type of thing. So whichever way you would like to present that data, just select whichever one you want. I'm going to keep the default one because that's how I would like to present my data. Okay, now that's all the options as far as what you're going to include on the report. The rest of it is just how to format the paper and the report itself. So if we go over here to paper options, we can choose different sizes of paper. There's a lot of standard sizes. We can also choose a custom size if we want to use a size that's not listed here. All right, I'm going to keep it at letter. If I wanted to print it out, I would be printing it out on a regular piece of paper. If you choose custom, these options will be available to you so that you can key in the size of each, the width and the height of your page. If you would like to see the metric system used instead, you simply click this checkbox over here and they will be converted into centimeters. You can also choose the orientation of your page right here and choose either portrait or landscape. And you also can specify how much of a margin you want on the left, right, top, and bottom of your page. Now, once we have finished all of these various tabs, we go down here to the last section, which is document options. So the output format, we can specify what type of format we would like this report to be in, okay? The ones that I think you may be most interested in would either be perhaps print, which means it will directly send it to the printer. HTML will generate a web page for you to view on your computer or post on your website. Some of these I'm not actually aware of what they would be. I don't know what latex is. Open document text, I'm assuming is an open source version of some type of word processor. We can create a PDF, which is what I like the most. A PDF does not let you change the information once it's created, unless you have a special software probably to edit a PDF, but PDF is usually the best option unless you want to be typing information on your document, in which case don't use a PDF because you can't change it once it's created. All right, but I'm going to create a PDF just because I want to display my information and be able to send it out to somebody. So with PDF chosen, if you have the checkbox here, it's going to open with the default viewer. That just means once you generate your report, it's going to automatically open. File name down here is going to show you the location that the file is going to be created. If you want to rename the report, so for example, maybe I don't want mine to be named report, but I would like to name it Ahnentafel Report. I simply change the file name before the dot and then the file extension. So if you've created a PDF, it would be .pdf. If you selected something else, it will obviously be something different. The style here is set to default. However, you can adjust the way that your report prints out. If you would like some things colored or you want some things of different fonts, we can do that. Simply click on the button here that says Style Editor. And if you've created any styles in the past, they'll be listed here. Since we have not, we have to create a new one, so we click on the plus. We can give this style sheet a name, so I'm just going to name it AHN for Ahnentafel and maybe a 1. Okay, so we have 3 things that we can change here. We can change the entry, we can change the generation, and we can change the title. So let's start with the title. This will be the title of our report. So we click over here on font options and we can choose the font face and we can choose the size, we can choose the color, and we can choose to make it either bold, italic, or underline. I'm going to make mine underline. We'll keep it bold. Let's actually make the color red and everything else is fine. We also can look at our paragraph options, so we can give it a background color, we can align it, we can indent, space, and give it borders. Just for you to see what that means, I'm going to give it a border around the left, right, top, and bottom. So I guess I don't really need the underline then in that case. So let's undo underline and add a border. All right. Now, over on the left side, we'll choose something different. So generation, this is going to be the text that splits up our individual generations. So if we go back to font options, let's say I would like my generations to be in blue, and I'm going to leave everything else the same just because I don't want to be too picky about this. And then entry is going to be the individual entry of your report, so each individual person. Now, the one thing that I wish you could do, which you can't, is you can't really change the font and everything of just the person's name. It's all or nothing in this case. So it's one block of text. It's title, generation, and then each individual entry. So If you do want to change the color or something of like just the name, you'll have to save it as one of the other options that you can edit and then go back in and change them by yourself. And that might be a little bit more time consuming, but if it's really important to you, it can be done. Okay, so once I have this, I will say OK. And now you see the style was created, so I can select it here, AHN1, select OK. All right, it did not actually change when I went there, so I will have to choose it in the style list here. So now that it says AHN1, we should have all of the things that we just selected and formatted. If you're happy with your report, you click on OK, and it should pop up with your new report. There it is. So as you can see, it says Ahnentafel Report for Hoffman, George Jr. It has a border here as we selected. Each of the generation headings are blue, and the individual entries are black as we left as default. So as you can see here, generation 1 is George Hoffman Jr. If we double his number, it becomes his father, so 1 plus 1 is 2, George Hoffman. If we double his number and add 1, so 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3, so here's his mother, Catherine Miller. If we want to see his father's father, we simply take this number, which is 2, and double it, so 2 plus 2 is 4. Isaac Huffman is George Hoffman's father. And you can see here we actually have a little bit more information because in previous videos we entered a little bit more information about these people. If we want to see George Hoffman's mother, we simply double his number and we add 1. So 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Sarah Wallisa is George Hoffman's mother. And here's a little bit better example about the type of vital information you'll get. So it says Sarah was born on the 22nd of August, 1835. She was christened on the 31st of December, St. John's Reformed Church, Orwigsburg, Schuylkill, Pennsylvania, USA. If I had included death information, that would also be included. But since we haven't put that in our tree yet, it obviously can't generate it. Now, you might notice that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it jumps down to 10, 11. Why is that? Well, in the numbering system, the ancestors of the previous generation are always doubled, and the mother is always doubled plus 1. So we don't actually have information entered into our tree about Isaac's mother and father. If you remember, we entered Sarah's mother and father. So therefore, 4 plus 4 would be 8. Obviously, 8 is missing because we don't have Isaac Hoffman's parents. 4 plus 4 plus 1 is 9. We don't have any information about his mother either. But if we do 5 plus 5, that's 10. So now we can see here is Sarah Wallace's father, Adam Wallisa, and 5 plus 5 plus 1 is her mother, Henrietta Kiefer. And again, remember, if we double the number, so 10 plus 10 is 20, so Nicholas Wallisa is Adam Wallace's father. 10 plus 10 plus 1 is Katerina Maurer, so that is his mother. And as you can see, each generation is going to grow because each generation will have more and more ancestors to list. So the first generation will have 1, generation 2 will have 2, generation 3, if your tree is full, will have 4. Generation 4 should have 4 times 2, so 8. Generation 5 should have 8 times 2, so 16. And as you can see, it will continue to double each time because each person has 2 parents. So as you can see, Ahnentafel numbering is a very powerful tool that can help you learn more about your family history. If you're serious about genealogy, I definitely recommend that you learn how to use this system. That's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel so that you can see when new videos are created. If you're interested in learning more about Gramps, I recommend that you check out the other videos on my channel, which go into detail on creating and manipulating your family tree in Gramps to learn more about your family history. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you all later.